He throwing off my swag.
You going? You said it was going. Like
said, is
the
it
mic
going?
going,
Like,
nigga. The mic
is
is
it-
going. The mic is going now.
So I can record. What's going on? It's Hella Black, episode 63. On this one, we got Noname rocking with us.
Yes, Lord.
On it, we talk the book club, fuck Amazon Day,
Chicago.
her developing radical politics, and a host of other shit. Hope y'all enjoy it.
Tap in right now. Make sure you tap in with our Patreon, patreon.com/hellblackpod. We on Apple Podcasts. We on Spotify. You feel me? We on SoundCloud too. Make sure you tell your auntie, tell your cousin. It's Hella Black. Fuck with us.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this month we're excited to announce some new tiers on our Patreon. For $5 a month, you can pledge to our extended audio dope tier. That gets you access to all our extended episodes. For $12 a month, you can pledge to the People's tier. That gets you access to all of our extended episodes, and 20% of that pledge goes to People's Breakfast Oakland. At $15 a month, you can pledge to the Inner Circle tier. That gets you early access to all our extended episodes. 20% goes to People's Breakfast Oakland, and you'll get a live stream episode.
For $20 a month, our core supporter tier, you get early access to extended episodes. You get to ask me and Rolla what you want to talk about on the extended episode. Get a live stream episode. You get 20% goes to People's Breakfast Oakland, and then you get your name on the wall of supporters. Our Hella Black loyalty tier, $25 a month. You get early access to extended episodes. You get to ask us questions. 20% goes to People's Breakfast Oakland. You get your name on the wall of supporters. You get a live stream episode. Then after 3 months of subscription, you get a Hella Black coffee mug sent straight to your crib, you feel me? So you can be on that Hella Black coffee, not the integrated coffee, that Hella Black coffee, you feel me? So tap in with our Patreon, patreon.com/HellaBlackPod. Got a bunch of tiers, you feel me? And, you know, some of our tiers support People's Breakfast Oakland, so you get to not only support Hella Black, but also the grassroots organizing work that we do in the field. Tap in with our Patreon, patreon.com/HellaBlackPod. Let's get it.
Feed 5-0, cigarillo, I'm shaking up with the trees. How I keep the leaf in the middle. I'm more than these hotel rentals and dental bills adding up. I'm the Kennedys out for lunch with a preacher martyr the king. I'm Cardi's engagement ring, I'm America showing off. I'm Viacom, I'm Chappelle and Pelly and rapping like Dialon. Spell it like Dialon. Gave my body to Adam, he told me to lie for him. Apple wasn't the apple, the truest sin was a pussy. I'm patriarchy on Sunday, don't push me, I'm Viacom. Y'all niggas got Diddy money, don't push me, I'm Atom Bomb. I'm Obama pushing a button in Libya, Pakistan. Humanly a hypocrite, the sinner and the civilian, the pettiest that it gets. I'm America at this best. Yeah, I'm America at this best.
It's Hella Black, baby. Black at it again. Yes, Lord.
Oh my God, it's Hella Black history. I'm so excited.
We got a Black Power link up right now, like a real.
These niggas not ready.
Whew, shit. If they thought they was ready, they might not be. But I hope they're ready now.
What's up? What's going on? We got a special guest for y'all. Noname is in the building.
Whoo.
Woo!
We gonna hear like a little horn, like duh, duh, duh.
This is like Black leftist. This is for sure. This is it. I don't know what to call this.
The real
We're
leftist.
here.
The real leftist shit.
We're doing something.
No disrespect to any of
sure.
our other guests, because we love everybody that comes on here. But
Yeah, I'm probably the least deep into the leftist shit than like most of the people y'all talk to, but yeah,
that's debatable.
We'll see what it is.
I feel like I just learned what leftist was like maybe 2 years ago, to be honest with you. Like I always knew what like radical politics a few months ago. I was like, I know what radical is and shit, so I guess that's leftist, but yeah, I don't know. People be calling themselves leftists and then they be voting for Bernie and shit. So I don't know. Elizabeth Warren stands and shit like that. So
I mean, words just don't mean things.
Yeah.
You know, niggas just be saying shit.
It's a revolution through the polls. Shit.
But people got to get it how they live. I can't, people believe that electoral politics. I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum,
Yeah, we gonna...
I'm chilling. I'm personally chilling.
We might yuck the unfortunately, if you we ain't fucking with Warren or Sanders like that. So
yeah, for those I don't know, we usually try to let people introduce themselves. We put together a little list of how we would describe you, of course, as a musician. You're the founder of No Name's Book Club, and I'm gonna say this, we could put an asterisk next to it because you might not identify as this, but you're definitely an organizer as well.
An organizer, oh boy!
By definition, you bring
somebody off.
I mean, that's just
about to piss somebody off. Don't
who?
do that.
Why not? Is that? I mean, B.
You don't like being called an organizer? You sound the internet.
I think unless I'm like really saving niggas from the play of state violence, I'm just, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm an organizer in the literal sense of the word, I guess. Like I've organized events, but I think organizer, or maybe I'm just putting like a very weighted connotation on it, but I feel like organizer is for niggas who are literally scooping folks out of the system and shit. Like I don't know that I'm that I'm really tapping in, but I appreciate it, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it from my understanding as well. When I think about what you're doing as far as like
political education and shit.
Political education, the fuck Amazon Day, like that's literally bringing people to have a deeper understanding of the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy that is the U.S. and also actively trying to divest from the shit. Like I don't understand
That's true.
Yeah. But I feel like both of us, even we kind of reject that term organizer sometimes. And, you know, even though we do that organizer shit, we just be like, we just some regular niggas trying to get back to the community.
I don't reject it because of the definition. I reject it because I don't want motherfuckers to think like I'm something special. You feel me? But like by definition, if somebody was to call me an organizer, I mean like
but it's also like this is also
like, on some humbling shit. I'm not gonna be like somebody can't say that Noname doesn't organize.
Right.
Cause like
that's what it is.
That's what niggas do.
Yeah.
So musician, founder. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying so. Yeah, musician, founder of No Names Book Club, and as of late, an organizer. How else would you describe yourself?
Petty.
You said petty?
You say petty?
Definitely petty. How else would I describe myself? Yeah, I think I'm all of those things. I tweeted about being like an organizer. Someone said I was like a internet organizer or like a social media organizer or something like that. And I was like, oh hell yeah, this is so dope. That's what I am. And then Clarissa, I think you all had her on recently. Clarissa,
that's the homie.
Yeah, and she was like, a term that she likes to use is cultural worker. And so I've been thinking a lot about that, and I guess I would kind of describe myself as that, as a cultural worker, like someone who is, you know, trying to engage in community and hold myself accountable, as well as like the folks who follow my platform, because they've tried to hold me accountable. It's like me working to do the same. So yeah, I guess that's a good intro for me. That's who I am currently.
That's what's up. Yeah, I like that term, like cultural worker, you feel me? Because it's like, that's the organizing shit we doing, is we working to push the culture forward in a better way. You feel me? To change the culture, you know what I'm saying? And address a lot of the negative shit that's going on too. You feel me? So that's what's up. I like that term too.
Yeah, Noname, you might not know it, but you know, we have some history with you. Like we've been, we got. This is you and I's first time talking, but me and you got history. This is not you and Blake's first time talking, right?
Yeah, we booked you for a show at UC Berkeley maybe like 5 years ago when I was a student. I think I met you like real briefly for our Black History Month concert. You remember that?
That's so crazy. Yes, I do. That was so long ago.
Right.
Oh man, you were like, we were babies.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I was like, damn, so like funny. That was so long ago. Like, and then it's just dope coming, you know, having this shit come into fruition. Like, you know, 4 or 5 years later, it's like, damn, we didn't even have the podcast back then.
Yeah.
And now it's like, shit, you're on the podcast and just seeing your growth. That's just dope. You feel me?
Yeah, I have to do the podcast for sure.
Yeah, so me and B were kind of like before we got on, we were just talking about the history of the podcast and how we ended up getting to this space, and the growth that we've had and the success we've had, and our you know, our connection to you of us, you know, him working with you, us both following your music career. Like I can remember the first time I ever heard your music. I was in junior college at Santa Barbara, and I had just got kicked out of my fucking apartment, and I was staying with a friend.
No.
I was staying with a friend because I was supposed to transfer to my university in the next couple of weeks, and I was just like staying with her, doing my finals and whatnot. And I was working on my a paper for an English class I was taking, and she had put me on the fucking acid rap, and I think "Lost" is the song, right? That's the song. Yeah. And that's the first time I heard your shit, and that's the first time I heard Chance too. But I'm like, damn, who would have thought? I didn't know Blake at that time. Yeah, who would have thought 5 years later we'd be doing a podcast together? I never saw that shit coming. That's not even 5 years. That was 2012, nigga. So damn.
Damn.
Oh my
That was like 8 years
god!
ago.
Oh my god! That just sounds so crazy.
That's like from first grade to eighth grade right there, man.
I didn't
That's
even
a
know
long
about
time,
podcasting
bro.
at that time. You feel me? So it's like, damn, here's this person's voice that I heard. Their music is hella resonating with me. And then 8 years later, me and this nigga got a podcast and you a guest on it. So yeah, we got history. That's the long story short. You know.
That's dope. And thank you guys for having me on. Like, I actually really fuck with your podcast for real. Like, I think the work that you guys are doing is mad important.
Nah, we appreciate it.
I'm super excited to be on.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it.
So shit, we could
Oh yeah, for sure.
you ready to dive into it?
Let's get in. Let's get it.
So we've kind of touched on it within the intro and shit, but you know, something that's really stood out over the last year or so is your political commentary. And we just wanted to ask, you know, like what led to you becoming like quote unquote political. You know, I think when we have other folks on the podcast, or when people ask Blake, like he'll say like, all right, like Mike Brown's death is when, you know, we started organizing and shit like that. Like that's what led to me being politicized. Was there a specific moment for you?
I think, I don't know, it's hard because I always grew up around a bunch of pro-Black people. So thinking about being political, do you mean it from the standpoint of like particularly caring about the rights of Black and brown people, or more so me speaking publicly about shit on Twitter? Like my public politics happened recently for different reasons, but my politics, okay, so my politics, I feel like I've always kind of had them. My mom owned a Black ass bookstore, and so I always grew up understanding my position in the world as a Black person, just from her and from like my grandparents sitting me down and telling me all types of crazy stories about their youth and what they went through. And my grandfather used to say, like, you know, I'm 70% racist. And I would always be like, you know, what does that mean and why? Things like that. So from like 10 years old onward, I think I had kind of an understanding of like, I am pro-Black for these reasons, like just the general, you know, knowing little history here and there. But yeah, I think with Mike Brown and other like people who have passed and whose lives have been violently taken, it maybe deepened it a little bit for me, but it was always kind of there. As far as talking about it publicly, I think that happened even before I kind of got called out on Twitter. The reason I got called out is because I was like talking a lot more about my politics and being a lot more public about figuring shit out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I guess it, like the Twitter shit, it kind of drove me even further down the rabbit hole, trying to figure out, okay, just being like pro-Black isn't enough, just being quote unquote conscious, this isn't enough. And I didn't realize that wasn't enough until the whole Twitter shit happened, but I don't like to credit it because it was so violent and it was so non-productive, which we'll probably get into that a little bit later. So I'm always hesitant to be like, Twitter is a space for learning, because I don't know about that. But yeah, that's kind of how I got introduced. And like Chicago is also just a city that is it's like hyper violent in terms of just the like government structures, you know what I mean? Like police violence is very brutal in that city. So I think also growing up with that knowledge and those interactions with the police already myself as a young person, like I just kind of had it in me.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it totally does. I think about my experiences like growing up poor and Black in Oakland, and I'm sure it's just like any poor Black community across the U.S. Like your very existence is damn near political. It might not be like a conscious political type thing, but just to
Just
Right, but it's
the
you
structures of
niggas
like,
know, like that shit is in me, that shit is around me constantly. Like, yeah.
right. Especially like a city like Chicago. I feel like Chicago and Oakland have a lot of similarities. You know, it's like the party started in Oakland, right? But like Chicago, the party was super strong.
Yeah.
You know, you had Fred Hampton, you feel me, and just a lot of the organizing that was going on. Even like the police chief we have right now in Oakland used to be like I think like the deputy chief in Chicago. You know, so it's like there's a lot of that history between like departments. Even you know, like Chicago with the black sites, OPD doing what OPD does, like hella killings and shit, a sex trafficking ring going on and shit like that. So, yeah, can you talk a little bit more though about like you know how Chicago specifically, you know, like really shaped your worldview? I know you spoke on it a little bit. Is there anything more you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean Chicago is a city that is very complex. For one, it's extremely segregated. So the way the city is mapped out kind of subconsciously creates different different understandings in your mind about who you are and who other people are and how you function in this sort of weird space, I guess. So being in Chicago and then getting into like the youth poetry scene and traveling the city and meeting so many different people like from across the city, not even just in terms of like, oh, I met the white kids up north, but like it's segregated even by poverty in some ways, because if you literally cannot afford to get to the other side of the city, you're just stuck. So there are a lot of Black folks on the west side who I had never connected with and learned about outside of just the like petty like beef between west
regional
side,
politics.
south side shit. Like, outside of that. So I think having that understanding and like seeing how different people lived within the same city and how the city treated Black people like within these different little regions was really, I guess, what informed like my vitriol for probably whiteness at first, but then when I learned that is not the end of it, that it does go to the capitalist and the patriarchal standpoint for that as well. And I guess like also being in Chicago and being around so much death all the time, especially people who were very close in age to me, it informed my my art. And I think that's why my music is so sad. Even living in LA, even making an album out here, because I grew up in that shit, it's just in me, if that makes sense. Like I can't really shake it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the nightmares that you still have from, I guess, childhood trauma. And I really didn't think it would hit me in the same way, because I did grow up with certain privileges because my parents were entrepreneurs. So like I lived in the hood. I lived in the same hood as like everybody else, but I was afforded certain opportunities because my grandparents owned a landscaping company. My mom owned a bookstore. But if you live in a neighborhood where it's hyper violent, it is what it is. No matter if you're the one family on the block with riches or not. And we definitely weren't that either. We were like barely making it, but still compared to other people on my block, you can see the difference in shit. But at the same time, like I still was on the same block when I seen a little girl get shot. You know what I mean? Like, and those kinds of things, I don't know if it's like singular to Chicago, but because it happened in my city and that's all that I know, I still create from that standpoint. I'm still very much, angry on Twitter because of these things, because of these memories. Chicago is like I don't know, it's like a nigga who I can't shake. Like, I love him so much, but also, like, you are not good for me. Like, you are very destructive to my well-being, like my mental health, but I love you, like, endlessly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel I mean, I think that's like a normal, probably a pretty common understanding of folks' hometowns, especially for like, you know, for Black people. Because I feel that same way about Oakland. I think oftentimes, you know, we had these conversations around like, well, why don't you just leave? Especially when you've put yourself in, like, you in LA now, you know what I'm saying? Like, niggas, I could probably leave and go somewhere, but I love Oakland so much, I just can't leave. And even to the point where it's
Yeah.
damn near, I don't even know, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I have so much pain here, so much trauma here. Like, I've been here for so long. Like, my worst memories are here, but also I have like some of my best times. And I don't know if I'm
Some of
just,
your best,
yeah,
yeah.
It's like a love-hate
yeah,
relationship.
for sure. But I also carry that shit everywhere I go, because even when I go to other places, I look for Oakland.
You still an Oakland nigga, like?
Oh yeah, no, literally I live in Jefferson Park, which is like the hood as fuck in LA. Like I'm not living like the traditional, you know, oh, the rapper moved to LA lifestyle, like to the point where I've told other people, other musicians who are locals who grew up here and shit, like, oh, where you staying? I'm like, they're like, ugh, why you live over there? Like, you decent now, like you got bread, why you over there type shit.
Niggas
But I
can't
mean,
fuck the hood.
I don't know. I think no matter what city I move to, I'm not that I have to live in the hood, but like I have to live in Black community.
Yeah, that's important.
And Black community that I feel comfortable in, because niggas would be like, oh, well, you could be in Baldwin Hills or whatever the fuck. So yeah, it just is what it is. No shade to Baldwin Hills, because I definitely be over there all the time, but I definitely love my neighborhood.
I definitely understand where you're coming from. Another question I'm really looking forward to hearing your response to this is like, how has the development of your politics shifted the way you move through music in general? You know, I think it's safe to say you've always been
conscious,
aware, musician, but you even talked about, like, now you saying shit that's not just about being pro-Black, but again,
connecting those systems, like to capitalism,
anti-white
patriarchy,
supremacy, you know what I'm saying? Anti-patriarchy. You starting to address class and shit, right? And we also know, like, entertainment isn't really like a PC space or a safe space or a space for marginalized folks to thrive, like in their entire beings. Like, I think about my experiences in music and how if I try to get certain musicians like to not use certain language, you know what I'm saying, because you don't know who's in the room, or like that's just harmful in general, or reinforces these same systems we talking about. And I can only imagine what that experience is like. You know, that's me as a cishet male. Like, I have that privilege in that space. But as a Black woman, like, I'm assuming, like, you know, your political commentary has cause for you to have to, like, kind of, it's like creating problems.
Oh yeah,
you know?
no, it's definitely. I definitely pissed off several people.
You got them crackers mad, huh?
Several people. They mad. They are upset. They are very, very angry. Which I didn't really. I mean, I definitely did it to piss people off. Like some of it, like some of the memes and shit. And this is purely because, like, as I started, you know, digging deeper and becoming like radicalized and shit like that, I started following people who are on that wave. So I'm following all of these crazy ass Black leftists who are, you know, they're so free and they can say whatever they want. So I'm thinking like, hell yeah, nigga, fuck this shit. I'm gonna say what I want. And I can't do that. But no, it's honestly like, up until this point, I haven't really had any issues navigating my career, because I don't know, it just, like, the sexist elements or anything like that never really came up. That was never really an issue for me. But now I think it's hard because because I've decided to publicly make certain statements and say certain things, people don't allow me the wiggle room to still be figuring it out. And that kind of sucks, because I'm trying to do, I'm understanding capitalism, and I'm trying so hard to make sure that every move that I make, every business intention, anything that I do is coming from a place of self. Like, I try not to involve any outside entities unless it's like, okay, I'm getting booked for an actual gig and that feels like someone is contracting me to do work, and that's okay. But like brand partnerships, all of that type of shit, I don't do that. And not to say that it's horrible to do that, because people still do need to pay their rent. But for me personally, it feels better not to. But then when I say like, oh, you know, I don't want to continuously perform for predominantly white audiences, and then the Coachella announces, it's like a whole nother issue. Which when I did make that statement, I also said that I had some more shows on the books, but obviously people washed right over
what
that.
they want to remember.
and they remember what they wanted to. But yeah, if I just feel like now I've put myself in a very almost dangerous position, which I should have thought about it a little bit more. But sometimes it's scary to think about, what if I'll never be able to make money again in this way because I've made these statements. Like I can't, like if I changed my mind and was like desperate for cash and was like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna just do this one little fest because my mama need it and I just need to get this quick check real quick. I can't do that. Like I feel like because I'm so anti-capitalist publicly, it's boxed me into being like, okay, bitch, now you gotta be broke as hell. Or else people don't believe you. People don't believe that you were genuine in the things that you say. I mean, because even when I was publicly speaking, people are like, you know, well, you can say that because you got a blue check and you rich. And I know other people's perception is going to be skewed because they don't work in the industry. They don't know how much my like operational costs are. They have no idea.
Right.
You know, how much I have to pay in order to just sustain. But that's the perception, and it's like I kind of feel like I trapped myself unknowingly. Like I should have maybe thought about it a little bit more before just being like, I'm gonna speak totally vulnerably and as angrily as I can in this moment.
Yeah, no, I feel you 100%. Like, because it's like it's people be so woke that they forget that they were at one time not woke too. You feel me? Or like it's become this like whole hierarchy within woke politics. Like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, bruh, like we live in this sea of capitalism. You gonna get your feet wet. Like, even though we as anti-capitalists, right, we still have to engage with that shit to meet our basic needs.
1000%.
No, literally, especially if you're taking care of the needs of other people as well, or if like even for example with book club, I started a Patreon and that's, you know, been dope, and like we've been able to do a lot with it. Like for the first time last month, I was so excited I didn't have to come out of pocket for all of our meetings. So that felt really good. Like the community paid for it, but you know, I want to do the prison program, and we're not at all close to being able to raise enough money for me to like start it the way I want to. And I want to use like the Coachella funds for that. Like there's so many things that I'm wanting to do with this money that comes from, you know, this fucked up system. But at the same token, it's like, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't.
No, you can never win type shit.
I mean, but that's how it's designed.
You cannot win.
That's how it's designed.
And that's what Twitter is like, you know, there's great parts about Twitter, but there's also like this just hypercritical, you know, very quick to like cancel. I mean, you know what I mean?
Life isn't just theory. Like that's what motherfuckers be moving through life, is everything is just theory. Like nah, fam.
Say that, yes.
Like life isn't just theory. It's not just, you can't just be saying things and think that like, okay, that's how life actually works. Like nah, nigga, there's practice, and the practice is always gonna be a lot harder than the theory. Always gonna be a lot harder than the theory. And sometimes it's not even the room for you to even put the theory into practice, nigga.
Because it's just theory. And it doesn't have a real world application. It's like, bro, if I'm trying to get this, you know, like we had the breakfast program, like we have to literally raise money to feed people. You feel me? Which has led us to having to work with folks. You feel me? Partner with people. You feel me? To get people the material resources they need. And some people are like, oh, you know, it's like we just did a residency program at Patreon. Like, and someone's like, oh, you got corporate sponsors now? I'm like, bruh, first of all, it's a residency program. We're learning these different tools. And they're not a corporate, they're not sponsoring us. But that was your first response to us. You feel me? Like going into a program that oftentimes, you feel me, niggas with our politics don't get the access to, and that's your first response.
The thing is, these critiques are never going to come from folks that's actually doing the work. Like that's
and that's the part that's the most fucking irritating. Like Y'all, it really does come from people who don't do shit. And that's fine. Like, no, like, you are not obligated to, like, uplift people out of their situations and shit, or be, you know, like, a beautiful soul to society. Like, if you want to sit at the crib and bitch on Twitter, like, you definitely can do that. But why would you tear down people who are actually putting in work? Like, that's what I never understand. All the celebrities and the different, you know, really, like, specifically Black men who are out here super, super, like, I will die to this capitalist shit. No one says anything. And then my little petty ass, like, everyone has words for me. And I'm just like, what?
Right. It's,
like,
I mean,
me of all people, really?
like, bro, Tyler Perry over here, like, literally fucking.
Literally.
Ain't nobody out here telling
Like,
this nigga to give people jobs or no shit like that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we gonna applaud Tyler Perry without even fucking knowing what he doing. Like, okay, another Medea film. Let's round of applause for Tyler Perry. But like, niggas is actually doing shit for the community, and that's when people have all these fucking opinions, bro. And that shit.
So many opinions.
That shit wild. Like, if your opinion ain't helping the people, I don't need to hear it. Like, of course, there's room for critique and shit, you know, and room for
always,
you know.
If it's productive.
If it's productive.
Productive.
Yeah, and it's actually a goal of building rather than just fucking tearing down for your, you know, your 150
but to
likes.
Be like, oh, y'all niggas on Patreon, y'all got sponsored by, like, nigga, it's Patreon. Like, are you crazy?
It's people literally
people
choosing to contribute
people
to support the work.
People don't be knowing what they're talking about.
Yeah,
that's all. Like, you got to realize, a lot of people just out here yelling, and we, of course, we go and like dive into that a little bit later. But people just be talking and putting pure assumptions out into the world with no understanding of actually what's happening.
Yeah.
No, they don't have no clue what's going on behind the scenes. They just make assumptions. And I mean, I don't know, to your point about, you know, like getting the Coachella money and feeding it into the community, like, that's not harmful. Like, how it's going to perform at a festival, like, that's how I look at shit sometimes when I think about who should we work with, or the ways in which we acquire our money or whatever. Is like, who, like, are the folks that I'm working with, like, what type of harm are they causing, or like what is this job that I'm gonna do, like, what's the harm that could be caused, you know what I'm saying? And if the harm is white people, motherfuckers gonna be saying I'm not aligned with my politics, I can kind of deal with that because I know what's actually going on.
Yeah, you know,
like,
the truth about what's going on and like, where the money is.
You just, like, a lot of the times when especially with radicals, like, people just waiting to see that we don't align with what the fuck we be saying. They just waiting.
That's really what it is.
They just waiting. So they can say, like, you just like everybody else. That's what they want. They want to be like, oh, you just like everybody else. So you got to take all this shit with a grain of salt. And
that's super real. I'm like, damn, yeah. I'm going to hold on to that for real. Because I'm like.
And you a lot more visible than us.
You're right.
A lot more visible, but it's just like, man, motherfuckers, how I'm supposed to be out here doing the work and worried about what y'all think about me?
And working 9 to 5?
Come on, my nigga. I don't got the capacity for that. Like,
right. And Sam, I'm on the rent. Y'all don't do nothing.
Shit, man.
I'm just trying to be doing the work.
I'm just trying to eat, man. Microwave my Trader Joe's burrito. Like, chill. I need some time for myself.
And you really gotta find peace in the, like, community organizers that are fucking with you. You feel me? It's niggas that really been out here doing this work for hella long, who are like, nigga, I don't want to use the word cosign, but, like, niggas are acknowledging the work that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, people have definitely. That's one thing that's been, like, so amazing about this whole process is the amount of people who, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, these are the real organizers, you know, but, like, the folks who are really, really with the shit and, like, in the community and have been since day one, they've been receptive to me. I've reached out to people and they've been super receptive, or folks have reached out to me, and that's been, like, that's really been the one thing that has sustained me and kept me going, is knowing that the people whose opinions I truly, truly value are seeing what I'm trying to do, and they are willing to help me. Like, we had even Clarissa, for example, we were talking about her before, but, like, she's been helping me find a location in Atlanta and just been super about just pouring into me as another Black woman who is publicly dealing with this type of vitriol. She's been, like, A1. Folks in DC, like, people who work for BYP 100 have been, like, pulling up to the meetings and like, just being a support and lending their political analysis and their, like, organizing framework and shit like that. So that's been my whole heart. I've been holding on to that for sure.
Real always gonna recognize real. That's for sure. We just gotta hold on to that real shit,
Yeah,
you know.
it's
Because
true. It's true.
I was talking about that with my therapist, like, and he was just telling me, he's like, bro, you just gotta hold on. You gotta hold on to all the love you got in your life and the people who supporting you. Because you know,
Mm.
when I compare both, I'm like, I got so much more love than that than the fake. You know what I'm saying? So, but
Yeah, because even as I hear you talk about like all the critiques and shit that you might be experiencing or whatever, but from like my view of what I see, like I've only seen, and like this is for sure, yeah, a skewed view because like who I follow or shit and shit, but like I've seen like a lot of love coming your way, and not in a way that I don't know if I've seen it before, um, but I
Yeah, that's
definitely
because
feel like, yeah.
you don't have my mentions. Like you are safe.
Nah, something
You are
like
safe from the.
yeah, I seen this shit about the Coachella shit, and I seen the tweets. I'm like, oh, these niggas just, these niggas is just reaching.
That's what they do. But it's cool. I learned that you can mute your mentions, so people
yeah,
who you don't follow, they don't come into your mentions. So
that should be
that
a
has been
blessing.
helping me a lot. Hell yeah, that shit definitely. I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking magic. How did I not know? This is crazy. So that's my new wave. I'm like, what I don't see, which feels good. But no, it's been definitely a mix of positivity and negativity. But it's just like hundreds of thousands of people that used to
Yeah,
be in my mentions. You know what I mean? On any given occasion, based on anything. And it got to the point where like I think sometimes it can be entertainment for people. So they started people who really, who probably never followed me, saw some of the stuff that I had tweeted about the predominantly white audiences, and they just put me on like notifications or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like how you can put
yeah,
someone's and I'm like, so anytime I would tweet anything, they would come for me. Like they would be like, oh, Noname tweeted, and then just attack.
stop what they doing. They in the middle of Safeway shopping. They
That
stop what
shit
they
is so
doing.
crazy. I'm like, oh my god. On the one hand, I think it's funny that we're talking about it because like right now I'm pretty much on I'm shitting on Twitter, but I really do love Twitter for the fact that I was able to create a book club. Like I really do think social media can be a beautiful tool. Like I don't want to just only shit on it because I do think it's possible to create. I don't want to say safe spaces, but it's possible to create more healing environments online. That is possible.
Yeah, I know one thing I've noticed is like you're also super open to critique, or like open to like growing.
Oh
I feel
yeah,
like you've had
always.
a base of people, a base of support that is, supported you through your growth too. Like for example, when you was at Cal performing, you went by Noname Gypsy, and then you learn more about like what the word gypsy was, right? And then you drop that from
Right.
your name. Like I feel like a lot of artists wouldn't do that. Like just period wouldn't do that. So can you talk about, the role like folks have helped you in like growing and whatnot? And how is that being
Yeah.
growing and, being called in and stuff like that?
I mean, it always sucks to get called out for whatever thing, but I usually don't. I don't know. It's easy for me to learn and grow because I'm not coming from a point of like egoism and whatever the topic is or the thing is. So, for example, like with my name, or with everything, with my name, or when I said like capitalism wasn't evil and all these mishaps that I've had, it's literally from a place of ignorance, and so I don't feel some type of way about changing it because I really like learning. So if someone says something and I'm in the wrong and I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't know, then I'll spend some time and educate myself and try to be better. But yeah, I guess it's never happened from a place where I've been cemented in an idea and someone has been like if someone came up to me and said something that's fundamentally against what I truly believe and what I stand for and what I've known for years, and I would probably there'd be some hesitation.
Right.
But with everything else that I'm ignorant about, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. Like definitely, I don't want to offend people. Take that shit out of my name. Like it's not that deep. Or the capitalism shit. I'm like, okay, well, give me some books to read then. Like if you want to call me out, help me to get to the knowledge part. So yeah, I mean, I've been I guess it's been a blessing, but it's hard to say that it has, because when people decide that they want to quote unquote educate you or call you out or whatever, it's never done out of love. Like, it's always done to publicly embarrass you and to
shame
to shame you and destroy you. So I have a weird relationship with, like, I really don't like to credit online folks to my growth, because it's also led to a lot of depression. It's also led to, like, me, I quit drinking, but when I was still drinking, definitely some unnecessary, like, benders that I did not need and shit like that, just because people don't understand that when that stuff happens to you, you feel, because you spend you feel it, like, you really, really feel it. And I know people are like, online bullying doesn't exist and da-da-da-da, but
that
when
shit
your
is
career
real.
is being online, that shit feels real. Like, most artists spend most of their day, like, online, whether it's their IG stories, it's 1,000 IG stories, or they're on Twitter or whatever it is. Most people, but specifically folks who make their money off the internet, like, people like to talk about, well, just get off Twitter. And I'm like, that shit pays my rent. Like, literally, that is my job.
Right.
I can't just get off, So finding ways to take the criticism in and learn what I need to learn, but push out all the negativity. That's been a process, but it feels good, because every day I'm learning more, and it's introduced me to so many different books and so many different people who are like-minded. Even my friend group has kind of shifted in some ways and expanded, which I'm really grateful for. So yeah, I never have an issue with. I don't understand when people have an issue with learning. Like, I understand why people don't want to be attacked, because that's not a place where most people can grow from. But, like, just generally, like Kevin Hart, for example, this nigga was, like, very much pressed that people felt some type of way. I'm like, bro, why is this, like, it's like tugging at something in you. Like, why are you holding on to this thing so much? You know what I mean? Like, that I don't get.
I think intentions are on both sides of the coin, right? So, like, the ways that folks respond to being held accountable will let you know their intentions, and the way that folks try to hold you accountable will let you know their intentions. Like, if somebody calls me out on something and I take a step back and I, like, process what I did and look at the harm that was caused or whatnot, or, like, look at the ways I was ignorant and wrong, like, that means, like, all right, I'm trying to do the work that's necessary for me to grow. Now, if I'm trying to hold somebody accountable and I'm just attacking their ass, like, it depends. Like, well, white people, I'm not really calling them in, I'm calling them out. But, like,
same.
Like, with like, if Blake did something, you feel me? How I would call him in, it wouldn't be from an attacking frame. You know what I'm saying? That just lets you know your intentions. Some motherfuckers actually just trying to cause harm, and some folks not trying to acknowledge their harm.
And it's like if you did something, and the first thing I do is yell at you, nigga, you just gonna be on tip. Like, that's not how learning works.
That's not how people learn.
And then it's
like,
also you could tell
learn.
You could tell people damn near just don't be outside like that. Like, because if you gonna engage with somebody outside, you feel me, like that, you just gonna yell at them, bro. Like,
the ways that I've been held accountable by people have not been the way that motherfuckers on Twitter try to hold me accountable. Like, being held accountable looks, and I mean, of course, like, it's like relationships matter and all that shit, but, like, when you actually have had to have, like, you in somebody face and they do something wrong, you're not finna be as, nigga, depending on who it is, depending on your temperament, you're not finna just be snapping at motherfuckers the way people be doing, bro.
Like, I used to be a socialist, nigga.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, nah, like, you gonna be like, hey, fam, let me holler at you.
Like, yo, you might be tweaking, like, slow up. Like, usually if I'm in a conversation and somebody says something, like, if someone were to say something that I didn't agree with in a conversation, I wouldn't just outright be like, you dumb as fuck, da 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 da. Like, it just, like,
bro,
that's not how real
like shit like that.
Conversations even work.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you might want to chill out. These are the reasons why. Come talk to me.
Yeah.
Let's sit down for a quick second. No,
and it's like,
but yeah, that's just not the internet.
Yeah. And all of
but
us,
it is
like,
good to have these kinds of platforms, at least to, like, expand on ideas.
Right. And I feel like a lot of us, like, we come from colonial education spaces, you feel me? And then niggas learn about, certain history, and then they use that history to shame other people now that they learned it, right? So, like I teach, and, one of the theories we teach in class is about intersectionality, right? And a lot of times intersectionality is then like the next week, like people will be shaming like, oh, you don't know what intersectionality is? I'm like, bro, y'all cannot go home for Thanksgiving dinner and be mad at your mama for not knowing what intersectionality is when you just learned about it 2 weeks ago. Like, have the grace
Right.
with your family and your people, like, who might not have had access to this language or access to this, right? And then you gotta like have grace and teach them because you didn't know 2 weeks ago. You feel me? And then now you're like, oh, I'm better than you because I know, I read this book, right? Or I know this theory.
Intellectual elitism. It's a thing.
Everybody walk around this motherfucker.
It's a real thing.
Everybody walk around this motherfucker all knowing and not making any mistakes. That's just what
That
it
shit
is.
is a privilege to even have to have the access to the knowledge is such a privilege that most people are not afforded. Like, even, and that's the thing that people don't extend to, like, quote unquote celebrities and stuff like that. They assume as soon as you get a check, I guess you get a college education and a specific type of college education at that. And it's like, that's not what happens. Like, a lot of rich niggas don't know the same way a lot of people just don't know. Like, the people who do, hopefully they would have, like you said, like, grace and share that information, like, timely, so we all can have access to learn. But it's just, it's the perception of your proximity to wealth. People think the richer you are or the more famous you are, the more you are automatically supposed to know. And if you don't, it's like, well, you rich as hell, just Google it.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
And like, even just saying, just Google it. Like, bro, do you know how much shit is gonna respond? You feel me? It's like you
literally,
Google
like,
Black liberation.
You have no idea.
Nigga, research is hard as fuck.
Bruh. Bro, you fucking you search Black liberation, Umar Johnson might come up or Charlamagne the Guy. Like, bruh, and that's who you're supposed to listen to. Like, then
I saw your one of your tweets about the marathon book club. That shit was definitely a messy take, a hot take. I was like,
was that mine?
That was you, D.
Yeah. Hey, I was just about to bring up, and I was gonna bring up. So what my nigga Kings showed me in that moment, which you kind of touched on earlier, was like, you can't offer a critique and not give like some type of like solution, I guess. Like, that's lazy as fuck. Like, all right, I said,
or name the books.
It's just like, y'all should stay away from these books. Here are some books y'all can read in replacement. You know what I'm saying? But it's just
that's
like that.
The move, yes.
It's that fucking, I don't know. It's just that, I don't want to call it retro. I don't know what to call it, but it's just like, just responding to something when you got to think like, no, nigga, a critique without a solution or counter. Yeah. A critique without a solution is lazy. Like, that's just lazy as fuck.
I just thought that was so funny because someone had a Black woman had a similar critique about my book club, and she was like, well, Noname, she reading all these Blacktivism books or whatever, but she needs to get into some intersectional feminism shit. And I don't know shit about, when you even were talking about intersectionality, like, I'm one person. I recently got into it, but kind of with my little sister. And purely because I don't know, like, I really don't know. And instead of being like, I'm going to email you some bell hook titles or some, Aju Lord or something. She just was like, fuck what you doing. That's not good enough. Without offering anything. And I know
lazy.
Why we do that. It's a very human thing to do. But it's like non-productive. Like, it just doesn't, it's like, okay, cool. You shat on us and we still don't have no new titles. Like,
yeah, that was humbling for me. I really like, yeah, I appreciate that. I'm like, bro, I need to do better. Like, because I easily
the petty person in me wanted to like that tweet so bad. I really did, but I was like, nah, I can't do it. Yeah. I can't.
Shoot, so just thinking about some books. I know you said your mom had a bookstore and whatnot. So what role has books played in your political growth and development? And what are some books that you would recommend for some of our listeners?
So I have a weird relationship with books. I like barely graduated high school on some, I like education, traditional education just didn't click with me. So I was very much against reading. Like, I can talk about the bookstore now with this, very lovey-dovey, reminiscent aspect, but I really used to hate working in there. I used to hate being in there on some kiddie shit. Like, I'm not trying to read. Like, and I'm already bad at it. Like, and people tease me when I read aloud, like, in grade school. So, having those experiences in grade school, I don't know, but when kids get a negative reinforcement on like any sort of educational process, and then you continue into high school, at least with me, it didn't drive me to want tutoring in that thing or anything. I just kind of completely was like, okay, fuck it, that's not me. So I now have been just with book club getting back into reading. So even when I saw you guys were going to ask me about what are some of my favorite books and stuff like that, like what would I recommend? Like I hate to be the corny person and just only recommend books from book club, but those are the only books I've read in years, like literal years. So one, I can't say. I always talk about Pedagogy of the Oppressed or Pedagogy of the Oppressed.
I haven't even
Not
read
sure
that.
how you say.
See, how can I talk about the shit I
So
be talking
good.
about? I ain't even read that.
Paulo
Freire.
so good.
You read it?
Yes.
Favorite parts, chapters. That's what's up. Yeah,
The first chapter,
read it.
so fire. The first 2 chapters are definitely my favorite. Especially like given the work that you do, I think you would like it a lot. But it's very, I don't know. For me, I always say it kind of calls you to action. Like it's hard to read that book and understand like the banking model of education and really understanding what it means to be the oppressed in terms of like liberatory efforts and stuff. You know what I mean? Because his whole thing is like the oppressed are kind of responsible for our own liberation. Like we can't get it, which I mean, I guess you probably already know that, but like for me,
Bernie Sanders ain't gonna make us free.
That's not gonna do it. Like that's not it. And it sucks because the oppressed are responsible for liberation generally, which means also that means the liberation of folks who exist in spaces of privilege. And you don't want to be, who wants to be the person who's been like brutalized their entire life and now I gotta save the world for all of us? Like why can't it come from the top down with all the power is? Like that's what it should be, but obviously like that's not what it is. So reading that book definitely was like, oh damn, let me get on my shit. And also he has this thing where he's like, the vocation of being, and I'm butchering his shit, but like the vocation of being more fully human is like being in pursuit of liberation. So constantly being in pursuit of your freedom is what makes you human, is what gives you your humanity. And so I never thought about that, to know that I'm almost living a half life if I'm not fighting for the fullest extent of my freedom. And then I was like, oh hell no, I'm fighting for this shit. I want to be fully human. Like, nah, right. I can't go. So that book, and then for this past month, we just read The Wretched of the Earth for December. And that's by Fanon. That book is very fire, very dense. Both of these are very dense, but if we're talking about my politics, these are books that I've been like circling around. Didn't finish it. Only got through like the first half of the book. But his whole first chapter on violence is really, really good and interesting, and definitely made me feel some type of way because I really used to hold on to the whole, speaking of MLK, but the MLK sentiment of the nonviolence, blah, blah, blah. Even though he did become like more radical towards the end of his life, what I've always known him for was the nonviolent shit. And so to hear Fanon be like, hell no, we gotta do the loop to that shit. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I guess you're right. Like, maybe it is historically violent. Like, it definitely is. So maybe that's what it will always be. That was good. That was good to just read and talking, and less about the violence too, but just him talking about colonization and learning about sort of his perspective from like the African aspect of colonization, which I don't really know much about. Like I know about it very vaguely, but not for real. So digging into that was dope. Just started reading Die Nigger Die. this month for book club, but I'm only in the foreword, so I can't really talk too much on it. But his story alone, just based off of the foreword, basically gives you a full synopsis of the man's life, and I definitely would suggest people pick it up. I'm so excited to like actually start, just because I think he goes by Jamil Alameen now, but it was like H. Rat
H.R.
Brown
Brown, yeah.
from before, yeah. And him just being like this, still a political prisoner, and his whole journey and his militancy and his politics, all of that, very, very inspiring. I think I want to read books that call me to action, like a book that fires me up in one way or another, whether it makes me, like the book that so on some like fiction shit, like on some more creative book shit, I just got finished reading Sabrina and Karina, which is this book of short stories about indigenous and Mexican women. And this fucking book, I'm telling you, please get it. It's so good. It's gonna like, it's one of those like Toni Morrison style books where the writing just holds you, but something about it is also like devastating, and you don't want to go further in, but you can't stop reading it. It's like that.
Yeah. It's
So yeah, those are my like top books right now for sure.
So I haven't read much over the last like year or so, and it was wild. I probably just tapped myself out on reading because from like 2016 to fucking 2018, I read hella books. Like it was to a point that I was reading like 1 year off a show, got like 20 books in, 25 books in. That might have been like 2016, I think. But like what has been your process for reading now? It's just like, all right, I'm gonna read during the day, or like right when I wake up, or right when I go to bed. Because like at this point, I don't even know how to find time for that shit. Especially if it's, I guess I gotta find something captivating. But there's also shit like I just need to read, even if it's not as fun to read it. Like so, like what's your process of reading right now?
For me, well, and this goes back into like my privilege based on my job. Like rappers don't really, like, if you're not in the studio or at a show, niggas don't be having shit to do. Like I be at the crib, so I have hella free time. Like I read most of Sabrina and Karina on my flight back to LA. So I definitely I love reading on flights because it just feels like something about it feels like the time doesn't exist for real. So I always feel like it didn't take anything out of my day to be reading on that flight. I love reading in the morning. Like I love reading maybe right after I've had breakfast. Cause I'm just super clear and fresh, and I don't know. It's hard to read. It's hard for me to read before bed because I always fall asleep, and whatever the last couple pages I've read, I always have to double back because my brain is just like in
don't even remember you read it.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck did I read? But mornings, and I also read a lot at the library. Like, and this goes back into my free time shit, but most of the time I'm wanting to get out the house because I can be a homebody. So I'll go to the library and just read for a couple hours and just be there chilling. Like I'm low-key at the library like a lot. Like I know people are like, she just doing this shit for whatever, and I'm like,
but I'm really in that thing.
And I be in the library. It's free. It's hella free. Other people be in there, so you kind of feel like you in community, but you still, you got your isolation because it's quiet.
Like, don't talk to me like that.
Yeah, like don't talk to me. You over there, I'm over here. But if we want to talk, we can. We can get a little study room type shit if we want to have a meeting. They're dope. They've got their issues. Like they've definitely got their issues. But the ones in LA have been really good about also like allowing houseless people to be in there and utilizing the resources like computers and shit like that. So
yeah,
have fun with them.
That's what a lot of folks I feel like don't realize too, is that like libraries are also like can be like havens for houseless people to get resources, whether it's like using the restroom or getting a book or being able to get on the computer,
or
so like
being in there, just like being in shelter for however long. Like a lot of people started coming at me for the library shit. I'm like, y'all don't go to the library because it'd be hella houseless people chilling and not being bothered by any police or any librarians. Like, I understand that it's not that way in every community, but a lot of libraries are trying very hard to be good about that shit.
I mean, shit, yeah, not even just houses, but like poor folks in general. I think about, nigga, when I didn't have a laptop, I was fresh out of college, no laptop. That's where I was doing a lot of my writing at. That's how I was able to apply to jobs. That's where I was printing my resumes
Same.
out. Like, nigga, like, it's, yeah, that
Same.
shit is, it's a
18-year-old,
resource.
19-year-old me with no money, absolutely.
Yeah, that shit
Definitely
is a resource.
Yeah.
And they offer free classes. Like, I took hella free classes at the library when I was like in my early 20s. Or whatever. Like, just because it was there.
The library around the corner from my house got tools and shit. Like, it be some.
Talking about tools and shit.
Yeah, libraries are resources. I for sure need to go get a library card.
The Oakland Library has definitely been like, they've been so excited about book club. I've been so surprised. Like, out of almost every other branch, they've been writing articles and shit and retweeting shit. I'm like, oh my God, y'all are like really about this book club. This
Y'all
is
with
dope.
this shit for sure.
Yeah,
That's just fire.
We've seen a lot of support around the different efforts you have going. So let's talk about Fuck Amazon Day.
Hashtag Fuck Amazon Day.
Hashtag Fuck Amazon.
I wanted to make sure, because I wanted to make sure I had the right, we had the right understanding of what the purpose of Fuck Amazon Day was. Was it, so I took a few things away from it, right? Like solidarity with their workers, because we know Amazon is known for treating their workers like shit.
Facts.
The support of local bookstores.
Facts.
And then, of course, taking money from a big ass corporation.
And then also to use a library as well, right?
To use libraries.
And then utilizing free library, yeah.
Yeah. So can you talk about the community effort around Fuck Amazon Day and how all that went?
Sure, yeah. So Fuck Amazon Day was very much like a Twitter and Instagram kind of thing. Like, it wasn't like a real, I guess it was a movement a little bit, but it was like a very small baby online thing. So I just thought it would be clever. I thought this would be a good way to get people to go to the library. Like, I don't know. I would tweet like, hey guys, don't spend your money. The library's free. And niggas would not care. And not to be like, people need a movement or something that's bigger than them to get behind. But sometimes we kind of do, unfortunately. Yeah. And so I wanted it to be not about me. Like, I didn't want it to be like, Noname is doing this thing. I kind of wanted it to just be like all about Amazon. Like, I just wanted to put it on something else. For the reasons that you mentioned, but also just to get the idea in people's mind that this thing is inherently unhealthy for us. Because I think that's what I think it's always like, maybe it's kind of in the back of our mind and we know it's not good inherently, but I wanted it to be very like in people's face, a bunch of flyers, a bunch of retweets, like very aggressively like, hell no, fuck Amazon. Why do we pour into these institutions for what? And I didn't think I thought it would just be like a Twitter thing where people would go to their library and send me pictures, which they did, like a lot of them, but also hella people, they deleted their Prime account, which I never asked people to do that at all. And I was like, oh my God, people are really like wanting, I don't know, I feel like we're in a weird time with our generation where folks we're understanding of these systems being inherently against us, and we want to do something, but the energy is like, it often gets misplaced or it doesn't have a place where it can be nourished. And folks, in the Fuck Amazon Day, it kind of showed me how many people are like really desperate for community, for spaces to engage, to disengage from capitalism in whatever small ways they can. So that was encouraging. Like, that was really, really encouraging. It was like, oh my God, so many people deleted their accounts. Like, I was really surprised. I was very surprised by that. That was like, and who knows, maybe they just did it to tweet it and then they got it right back. I don't know, but I doubt it. Like, it really seemed like people were understanding what I was trying to do and the statements that I was trying to make. NPR blew me because I did an interview with them prior, and I only did it because my PR sent it to me, and you know, he kind of positioned it like this is one of the, you know, the biggest morning radio specials or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm always struggling between what Noname, the person, wants to do and what is productive to do for book club. Like, is this press, even though Noname doesn't want to do this press, like Fatima doesn't want to do this press, is this productive for book club? Like, does book club need it?
Yeah.
And to get your message across too.
I still struggle with that. Yeah. And they called it like Library Registration Day and had a bunch of like, they just made it so PC and they took away the Amazon element. They really did.
They put a trademark over your shit.
I was so pressed. I'm like, they took out all of the, like, it's called Fuck Amazon Day for a reason. Like, something about that name is so on par to what it is.
Like,
you know
they
what
took
I mean?
the
Like,
anti-capitalist aspect out of it. Yeah, like
they just put a neoliberal shit on there right there. They're like, all right.
Noname loves the libraries, and even more than that, she loves librarians. And I'm like, this had nothing to do with no fucking librarians. No shit, librarians, because y'all know I just fuck with y'all, but that wasn't what that was about.
Yeah.
That's not what that was about. So yeah, that's like, I wanted to see if people would rock with me, and people did, and they pulled up, and it's one of those things where I think I'm gonna just continue to do it. Like, I think it should be an annual thing, and every year we'll have one, and maybe they'll expand, and maybe it'll be beyond just like go to the library. Maybe we'll add new things like, okay, fuck Amazon Day, spend 2 hours here volunteering or da-da-da-da, I don't know, but it's definitely something I think can grow. Like, I didn't even think that many people would go. I thought like maybe 50 people would go, but hella people went. So that was dope.
That's the beautiful part about organizing too, you know, is like seeing like that tangible shit based off the shit you organizing around, you know, and then like shit, you have no idea what it could even grow into. You feel me? That was year one. So imagine like the shit you can do the second time you do it. You feel me? Because you already have people tapped in. So that's saucy.
Yeah, definitely want to.
I'm trying.
Yeah, want to congratulate you on that. I thought it was dope.
Thank you. That's sweet to hear. Because I definitely was tweaking the whole day, like, oh, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Do you ever do that? Do you ever wonder why are you doing so much? Like, not like so much like, oh my God, look at me giving my everything, but like just things that you don't have to do that people can critique. Do you ever feel, because sometimes I feel like I'm putting myself in these positions to be critiqued for what? Like, why am I doing this? Like,
because like you sacrifice.
Because even some people who fuck with me, one of my close homies, he actually was like, you know, I'm fucking with the whole fuck Amazon Day. I see what you're trying to do, but you are bringing negativity to you by calling it that. You know what I mean? Like, something about the way people are gonna approach that labeling is gonna be with anger, because you're, you know, labeling it in anger. And he was right. I mean, he definitely was right. But at the same time, I'm like,
that's the most simple way to describe it, though. Is like, fuck Amazon, nigga.
Why do we have to water down our disgust with the systems?
And that's what
I don't understand.
That's literally, I was like, I want to be angry. Why can't I be angry?
Right.
Like why does it have to sound polite?
Exactly. And it's like, you got to think about it too. You feel me? Even with your NPR interview, right? It's like you said, fuck Amazon, and look what they took that and made it into.
If you don't make things clear, you give people a chance to take it on one, which they're already trying to do, but you got to make things very.
They do it regardless.
Yeah.
You got to make it very clear.
So even like, I feel like when I'm doing interviews, I'll just be like, all right, I got to say this shit as radical as possible, because I know they going to try to fucking put it through the neoliberal washing machine and spit it out as something else.
But what's crazy is I actually did, and they edited my shit. Like, the type of conversation we didn't talk for the same length that we've been talking, but we talked for a minute. Like, I was in a studio, I pulled up to the NPR studios or whatever, and was talking to them for like 20 minutes, and they edited that shit down to a minute and posted the like very few pieces of like PC language that they could put in there. They did, because I said hella shit. I'm like, damn, y'all really. The what do they call them? The mainstream media or whatever. And they're supposed to be, I mean, I guess it goes into the liberal shit, but I really thought, I don't know. I was like, oh, they're reaching out to do this. They see what it's about. So they must want to report it the way that it is.
Right.
But yeah, it's been interesting figuring out the spaces where I should say things in a certain way and to not. Like, I still haven't figured that out.
I mean, but then also, like, I've tried to, when I try to change when I try to not be as radical, it doesn't come out the way I need it to come out. Like, if I'm trying to, I think about the ways I navigate the nonprofit sector of my work. And whenever I step into a meeting, I don't just say things for what they are. Like, it's not as impactful. I'm stumbling over what I'm trying to say.
I feel anxious.
You know,
and shit
I get
sometimes.
anxious. I'm like, because I'm not being true to myself. That's the end of my body screaming out, like, no, nigga, like, that's not how it's supposed to go. Like, go in there and tell these motherfuckers what it is, because that's who you are. Like, that's who you are. That's just, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta. I haven't succeeded at watering down what I'm trying to say. I haven't had any success at it. It's only made things work, and it's made me feel less credible to myself. And then I got to go home and look myself in the mirror like, damn, nigga, you just played yourself.
You just played yourself. Yeah.
Something we spoke on earlier was around, you know, whiteness in music and music all around, right? But I think something that's in reference to like Coachella, right, and white folks being at all the shows and white folks buying albums and merch and shit. But I think something that's often left out of that conversation is class privilege and access. And then whenever you do start talking about access and class privilege, even the takes around those can be anti-black. I remember earlier this year, last year, I tweeted something about Rolling Loud, about the crowd being predominantly white. And niggas was like, well, if niggas could buy Jordans and Gucci belts and smoke weed, whatever, they can afford a ticket to the festival. I'm like, why is it that black folks always gotta?
And why is it always the first time that's the first shit you say? Oh, Gucci belt and Jordans. Like, nigga, what?
But the thing is, why is it like Coachella?
I mean, I'm actually I'm not like you know, an angel when it comes to that shit either. Because I definitely when I went on my little rant or whatever, I definitely said that shit. I definitely was like, not Gucci belts, but I was like, y'all go see my other black homies, like, you know, shows, and he not,
that's different though.
Hella rich or some shit like that. Y'all go to his shit. Y'all go to the baby shit. Y'all go to Megan shit. I know you got $25 to see me because I see you at everybody else's shows, and some of them shows more expensive than my shit.
That's a different take though.
I know that shit is counterproductive, but there is a class privilege. There is definitely a class privilege for sure, because a lot of the times I don't think it's that most niggas don't have the money. I think white folks have it the day the tickets drop, the second the tickets hit, you know, your website, they're able to just buy all of that shit like within like an hour. Whereas sometimes there's communities and people who are like, I need to make sure this check clears. I need to pay my rent first and then handle some things, and then I'm gonna go get the ticket. And then they look up and all the tickets are gone.
Do you work with a booking agent?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so
I had to change my booking agent recently. I have a new booking agent now.
Yeah, I know for like street rap, if that's the genre I want to call it, whatever. But I can remember a booking agent that I work with saying like, don't worry about low ticket sales, because for this crowd, and he was basically saying for niggas that like street music, they're gonna buy their tickets at the door. Like that's what it is. That's literally what he told me. He was like, don't worry about this low ticket count right now because it's gonna sell out day of, because most people only can get their tickets the day of the show.
Or if you're paying in cash too, you feel me?
Like some niggas actually don't have debit cards.
Paying in cash, that's literally what it is. So it's like, it's also that.
Yeah, but if you think about Coachella, that's a 3-day festival. I'm sure the tickets cost like over $500 for that weekend.
I don't even want niggas to spend money on Coachella. They hopefully don't listen to this. I hope they don't listen. They don't listen. But don't spend your money on that shit. That shit is ridiculous. Why? For what?
I mean,
frank, I guess.
But I think about music festivals in general, like especially like a rap festival like Rolling Loud. Like that's a rap festival. Like niggas gonna want to go to that. But You know, why is it that niggas always got to be the ones that got to make adjustments and not the systems? Like, why is it that we the ones that can't, that we got to stop wearing a designer, we got to stop wearing shit? Why is it always placed on us?
Who owns it? Is it owned by like white folks? Rolling
Yeah,
Loud?
yeah, it's for sure not owned by black people. I don't know
See,
what the
and
nigga.
until we are like the owners of like our production,
But even
I don't really
Afropunk,
see it.
right? Afropunk is.
But I thought Afropunk was black as hell. Though. Is it not?
That shit, but that shit costs though, ain't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've heard like I've seen critiques.
I mean, it's not cheap.
Yeah, I've seen critiques of organizers wherever they do this shit and be like, yeah, Afropunk be on some shit for whatever different reasons. But yeah, so I just think like class, privilege, and access should always be acknowledged when you talk about the consumption or purchasing of music.
It's true. It's true because it plays a major factor, like a major factor. I don't know if it can change if we're not creating our own spaces within entertainment.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I really don't know. Which that shit makes me sad. That's kind of why I've kind of, after these next couple shows that I have, I'm not really interested in continuing because I don't want to keep working within frameworks that weren't built for the people who I want to be there. But I don't know. I don't have enough money to just create my own shit. And even if I did, how do you control that? Like, I was thinking about that even, that's why I was like, you know, I guess I have to stop touring too, because even if I wanted to tour and I wanted to play black venues, when the tickets are online, it just looks like a venue to everybody else. They're not going, it's not like people are like,
oh, this is black owned.
Because everyone was like, well, you need to do all the venues in the hood. And I'm like, you don't understand how this shit works. Like, they don't care. They will pull up everywhere. Like, if they want to see an artist, they're going to see their artist.
Yeah, white folks have no problem. I mean, that's just how white people navigate the world in general. Like, it's no space.
I'm like, that's literally
there's
how
no space you can't keep these niggas.
I'm like, they afraid to go to the hood? Like,
bruh,
there's no space you can't keep.
Literally are like, oh, we want to take the hood. Fuck it.
Like, even we plan these Black History Month concerts, and like we literally have to tell the white students, like, y'all, this shit is not for you. Go to the fucking back and let black people be in the front. Yeah. Literally, it's a whole Black History Month concert. We still got to do the same shit. Like, they're so entitled to space.
There's been a few white folks who have actually emailed me like, hey, I've been reading along with book club and I really love it. Just wondering, I don't want to disrespect anybody, and I see that the spaces are for POC, but is it okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Like, we prioritize POC, so if it's some extra space, cool. If not, then, you know, catch us next time. But I don't know. I think it is hard. I think it is hard to see people take it personally when folks are intentionally creating spaces for themselves. Like,
white folks
like,
just
don't
can't.
Take it. It's not about you. Like, it's not about you.
They just can't seem to understand like why they can't have everything. You know, it's just like, why can't I come? Because you can't, nigga. This is not for you. Why is it not for me? Like, they just like,
why?
They just can't.
Why?
Like, I think about if somebody was like, okay, no cishet niggas are allowed. I would not sit up there and be like, why I can't come? Like, this ain't for me, nigga.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that's not for me.
Yeah, like, this ain't my
that's
space.
Not for me. And also, like, just thinking about the fact that, you know, people are not even really afforded space in this world. Like, the few times that we have to
can't they just have something, my nigga?
Can we not just have something? Like, damn. And so that gets kind of hard. And low key, even yesterday, I posted a petty ass MLK meme where it's like him in the sky smiling while it's another black nigga like
with the whip,
with the whip and shit. I just think that shit is so funny. Like,
people really be hurt by that. White folks be sick, huh?
White folks definitely. I posted on the book club page, and this dude commented like, "This is counterproductive for, you know, revolution. Like, eventually we're gonna all have to come together. Like, that's what this is about."
Hold on, who said that?
And the dude was Brazilian, actually. He wasn't even white. He later was like, because he said something like, you need to, you know, like, this isn't the answer either. And sent me this video about, and it was like this white guy talking about how he doesn't like those types of memes or whatever the fuck. But then he goes, and then after I was like, you know, this is just a meme. Y'all literally were lynching people. Like, it's not that deep. You can deal with this.
Yeah,
And
y'all
then it
still
was
killing
like,
people.
oh, I'm actually Brazilian. I'm like, nigga, what?
He could be a white Brazilian
That
too.
shit
Like
is
that
so
doesn't mean.
confusing. And that's also very true. Like, and that's also very real.
He said, "Nigga, what? That shit is so confusing."
I'm like, what?
He said, "Nigga,
He's
wet."
Brazilian. It's a meme. Like, it's a meme. Like,
All right,
I
the
should
media
be able to
ask you what's your
after like
nationality.
if we're not getting no reparations, I'm not getting no money sent to my account daily based off the fact that y'all did what y'all did to my granny people. Like, I'm a post a meme and you gotta eat that shit. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I know it's not politically correct. I know it's hella poor white people who exist. I know. But like, that shit funny. That shit funny to me.
That shit funny. And a lot of them poor white niggas still voting for Trump. Shit.
A lot of them poor white niggas is anti-black as fuck.
Yeah.
This is very true.
MAGA.
Some of them aren't. Some of them aren't.
Yeah.
There's a couple allies. I don't want to just not pretend like it's not like.
But allies
like
ain't getting
real
offended by
people.
shit like that though.
If they an ally, like, you know, there's some white folks who help us with PBO, and I'm like, I can say whatever the fuck I want to say, and they understand that, they don't feel offended.
Because if the shoe don't fit, nigga,
don't wear it.
Or if you know the history of your people, you know how this applies.
Y'all some fucking terrorists.
Yeah. Like, come on, bro. I know you know history. Like, I know you know slavery existed, at least.
Yeah. They act like that shit was so far away. That was 200 years ago. Like, no, it's not true.
Why do we have to pay reparations for something we didn't even do?
The same reason why you get to keep benefiting from it, nigga.
Yeah, why are most of my niggas like incarcerated? Like, even just the bond system. I mean the list can go on and on about how black and brown people are disenfranchised. Like, I be thinking this shit is very regular PBS news type shit. Like, how do y'all not see this shit? But then again, everyone doesn't have the education, and depending on where you live in, you're not gonna know. Like, you're gonna be fed whatever rhetoric is on Fox News, and you're not gonna know. So, but at the same time, let me post my memes in peace.
For sure. So I know one thing you was talking about a second ago was just like, you know, not want to necessarily go on tour, you know, and about, you know, take a little bit of a break from music. So what are some dreams that you got for yourself, and what are your hopes for yourself, you know, moving forward?
My biggest dream right now is to expand upon book club. So I want book club to be in every city all over. Like, I want it to be a national thing for real here. Like, people are participating online nationally and reading in their respective cities, but I want an actual chapter in every city. And then beyond that, I really want to make some, like, you know, diasporic connections type shit. Like, I want chapters in different countries in Africa. I want chapters in different islands in Europe, wherever Black people are. I want a chapter there. And then I want to figure out a way to somehow connect us, because that's one thing that I really long for, is like connections with Black folks globally. I really long for that shit, because I think we could go so crazy if we were connected. Like, which I know that's like, I'm not gonna be the person to be able to do that, but that's like a dream of mine. That's probably my biggest dream. It used to be like goofy shit, like, I want a Grammy. But I'm like,
goofy.
You still want a Grammy?
You could do both.
I'm good. I don't want no fucking Grammy. I'm good. And let me not call it goofy, because I mean, that means a lot to some people. Like, it's still, whatever. It's the Grammys. Actually, I don't care. People could feel some type of way about it. I'm like, I can't be PC forever. Like, I don't really care about that shit.
It is
but
what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. So yeah, I wanna keep building out book club. I really want to get in these prisons and start prison chapters. That's like more a long-term thing, but I've been working with different organizers already who do that work, and they've been so supportive of book club, and they're like, you know, whatever you need, we already have, you know, pen pals and folks who we are already working with on the inside who can make it happen and who can help you organize. But the first thing I have to do is figure out how to lift bans that they have, because damn near all of the books that we read are banned. And I'm not picking no like watered down books for book club just because that shit is banned. I'm like, I'm gonna figure out a way to do something. I'm gonna try to. This is the only time I be wishing, like, I wish I was more famous. Like, I wish I had Beyonce money, only so I can do the shit that I really want to do. Like, because me and my little bit of celebrity is not enough to like nationally change the way prisons distribute books. But I'm gonna try. I'm definitely like, I'm gonna try, because I can't go. Like, I just can't go. I want niggas reading what we read at, and that's it. That's all. Like, I'm not picking any watered down books because of the book ban. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
So that's another goal of mine, is figuring out like what organizations are already trying to do that work. I know PEN America has like a petition, and they've been doing a lot of stuff. So possibly linking with them, possibly linking with some other folks, whoever is trying to push it through. I'm like, how can I be an ally? What can I do? So yeah, and I don't even think it's a money thing. I think it's more so like it has to become a national issue for people.
Right.
Like, that's what has to really happen. It's like there has to be like a large outpouring of hate for this specific thing. But the thing is, people still have these connotations of prisoners, and there's still so many people who don't believe that they're at least deserving of their humanity.
Yeah.
And so, like, even when I was tweeting about, like, oh, can you sign a petition? Please, I'm begging you, please sign a petition. Hella people were like, well, they in there for a reason, so who gives a fuck?
That's that anti-blackness.
And
it could be even internalized too, because it comes from our own people as well.
Until that changes, it's like, well, like, we have to be the ones to be like, no, they don't get to do this. They don't get to say Malcolm X book can't be read in prison. Like, they don't get to enslave people in this way and not allow them access. Even the Die Nigger Die book, the man is literally in jail, and he wrote the book, and he can't even get his own book. Like, shit like
That's
that
wild.
just is crazy to me and infuriating and horrible. Like, there's so many writers who have been published outside of prison through different orgs, and they can't get their actual published work back to them in prison.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Can you imagine if you made an album and, like, whatever the fuck that was around you said you cannot hear that shit ever? Like, and that's your shit.
Yeah, and they
What?
be like punishing, prisoners who be educating people and like holding like study sessions too. So like my uncle Jalil, he was in the Black Panther Party. He's a political prisoner currently. He was educating hell with prisoners and shit on like slavery and the 13th Amendment, and he got sent to the shoe for hella long just based off of educating. So it's like, even when you're educating people,
I've heard about that. I
how
heard
to
they
teach
do
shit.
that a lot to, like, prison organizers.
Yeah, there's always that repression, even within the prison walls and shit. If you want to tap into this next part of our episode, tap in with our Patreon, patreon.com/hellblackpod. If you white, pay the fuck up. You feel me? But patreon.com/hellblackpod. Tap in.
Yippee-ki-yippee-ki.